Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTubers. This is Jerry Diamond, How to Get Out of Babylon in Flat Earth Homeland. Okay. It is in the story Anniversary Part 1. And I'm going to read that. And then I want to do a video about what today is in reality, at least in my little lonely perception of reality, and that has been we're closing up the day of Pentecost. More on that later. Anniversary Part 1, and we have visitors here. Had visitors all day. Have a visitor spending the night. One of my YouTube subscribers. Hallelujah. It's been a good day. Yes, ma'am, I'm sure, John said in a genial tone to the bank teller. We have Visa check cards now. They work just like a credit card, but it's deducted automatically from your checking account. You qualify for a $1,000 line of credit to protect against overdrafts. The teller persisted earnestly in her explanation. This would save you the trouble and possible risk of carrying such a large amount of cash. It really would be no trouble to set it up for you. Miss Metzger at the Special Services desk could have you set up and card in hand in about 10 minutes. Yes, ma'am, John repeated genially and smiled. I appreciate that, but I'll take it in cash, please. It was an electronic transfer from the federal government, so there shouldn't be any waiting period. You do have sufficient cash here in the bank to cover this, don't you? Oh, why yes, Mr. Horn, of course, we have enough cash to cover your withdrawal. The teller quickly suppressed an alarmed look. If you'll just initial right here, I'll have your cash for you right away. John initialed the withdrawal form, and she opened her drawer and began to count out the bills. When she finished, she slipped a small pile of currency in an envelope and slid it across the counter to him, along with his balance statement. Thank you, ma'am, he said. You've been most kind. Sliding the envelope into his pocket, he turned and left the bank. He crossed the parking lot to the truck where he met Ann and the kids. 2 adults and 4 kids completely filled the crew cab truck, but they were buying shoes today, so needed everyone's feet to be present. You were a long time inside, dear, Ann said. Was the line long? Yep, he replied, lots of folk withdrawing money, but didn't see anyone depositing. Of course, electronic transfer and all that means that many don't actually have to go to the bank to make deposits anymore. Teller seemed mighty reluctant to give me the cash, but even more reluctant to do anything that might attract the notice of the other bank customers. What does that mean, John? A look of concern on her face. Hasn't the government been paying off the accounts for those banks that failed? Yes, they have, even the really big ones, up to the $10,000 limit per account anyways. Haven't heard how much this has cost we, the taxpayers, but they've been paying. He started the truck motor and pulled out onto the street before continuing. It's not whether the government will pay off the accounts that has the banks nervous. I think they're very much afraid of runs. Just at the moment, the Treasury, Federal Reserve, and every surviving bank, savings and loan, and credit union in the nation has got to be passing bricks about whether account holders will get the wind up them and start pulling their money out. Make that the whole world for that matter. Won't take too much of that and they won't be able to cover the outflow. If the U.S. financial ship really does go to the bottom, she'll take pretty much every other nation with her. I don't know what sort of jiggery-pokery the government, Fed Reserve, and the banks got up to cover their losses from the impact so they could reopen, but I'm sure that most of the dollars deposited in banks across the nation still don't actually physically exist. They're invested in all those things that banks and related institutions invest in to make the money to pay the pittance and interest they pay account holders, certificates of deposit, and so on. Probably wouldn't take too much just now for them to run out of cash money and start having to sell assets at giveaway prices to come up with more if folks begin to worry they would lose their money. If they have to dump assets like that, it'll be impossible to get credit, which means new businesses won't be able to open and current ones may not be able to stay afloat. Argentina gave the world a painful lesson in such things. Well, we have the cash now and brought matters back to the present. We don't have to worry about it again until my paycheck comes in next week. What can we do about it other than pull our money out as fast as it comes in? John shrugged his shoulders. Not much, I'm afraid. All we can do ourselves is roll with it and try to stay afloat. The reverberations from the collapse of the intricate, interdependent financial universe that all modern nations lived in before the asteroid hit are likely to echo back and forth for some time to come. Somehow, some way, the government, all governments really, has got to find a way to restore faith in the currency if people are to put any trust in it, so that they'll leave their money in banks long enough for the banks to be able to extend credit for businesses to start, rebuild, and stay open. So long as people like us see the value of the dollar in what it will bring, fading by the month or week, they're going to pull it out and exchange it for items of tangible value as fast as it comes in, just like we're about to do. I don't understand the way the system worked to have a clear idea of when it will stop. One day it will, and everyone who has survived to reach the other side can begin to rebuild. But we're not there yet. A darkness seemed to fall in the truck cab, and conversation lagged for a time as John drove down to the commercial district, finally pulling into a shopping center on the Archer Road corridor. Why here? Ann asked. Wouldn't we get a better deal on the kids' shoes from Walmart? He shook his head negatively. Before the impact, we probably would have, but a great deal of the stuff Walmart sells comes from, or came, I should say, from China. This time around, sneakers and the like are not the priority. We want sturdy, durable shoes that won't wear out before they've outgrown them. I've been asking around at the market for a while now, and this fellow here at Eagle Shoes sounds like what we're looking for. Not all American made, unfortunately, but what he's got is first rate, and very importantly, they're repairable. Most modern shoes are throwaways. Something wears out or breaks on them and they're trash. We cannot afford that anymore, even if we have to pay more up front to get better quality footgear. It's going to cost big, but I want to get each child a pair of shoes they can work in, a pair they can wear to church, and then we'll go to Wadi World or Target or something there for cheap sneakers. The family unloaded from the truck and went inside. When he discovered that John had come to buy shoes for the entire family, the owner waited on them himself, and soon each was fitted out with what they'd come for. And he threw in a complimentary can of shoe polish and a pair of dress socks for each child. As he was totaling the orders, the man asked, "And will this be cash, check, or charge?" Several months of haggling in the marketplace had changed John's outlook on the way business was conducted, so he said, "Well, I can put it all on my Visa card, or if you're willing to dicker, I can pay cash. What suits you?" The man glanced at the register tape and back to John, then said, "Oh, I'm sure if you're willing to pay cash, we can come to some sort of mutually satisfactory arrangement," and the two men began to dicker. A minute later, they'd agreed on a total price, and John pulled out his roll of cash and began counting out the bills. The children had watched the transaction silently but with interest. Once outside, they stowed their purchases in the back of the truck and got in. After he had pulled onto the highway, Ann asked, "The discount he gave you is surely greater than the percentage that Visa charges for using their card. Why would he be so eager to have cash when he could have made more money by taking credit?" "I can think of several reasons, darling," her husband responded, "but it's his business and not mine. Let's get on down to the hardware store, Wally World, and the other places on the list, and finish spending Carla's money. I'm starting to get a bit nervous about having a bird in hand for some reason." All right. Good night. Might be the only one because like I said, I want to do a little talk on Pentecost. So, hallelujah. Good night. Bye-bye.